Hello fellow tankers, this is Dauntless, and today I'm going to be playing a game in my Tier 9 British tank destroyer, the Conway. Now the Conway is a tank that a lot of you might not be very familiar with just because you don't really see a lot of them on the battlefield, and this is for good reason. The Tier 10, the FV4005 Stage 2, is probably one of the worst vehicles in the game right now. It's got a giant turret mounted on top of a Centurion, and it only has 14 millimeters of armor all around, meaning any kind of arty or HE is going to pen it, no questions asked, and it just dies extremely easily. It has only 5 degrees of gun depression, and it only goes like 35 kilometers an hour, and the turret only traverses like 45 degrees either way. And just all those things combined make the Hesh Barn just a completely horrible Tier 10 tank. Now, contrary to that, the Conway is actually an amazing tank if you know how to utilize the DPM correctly. It has crazy good DPM. It has the same gun that's mounted on the Conqueror, the Tier 9 British heavy tank, and this thing can just beast out the damage. The reload is only like 6.5 seconds for a 400 alpha gun, and you can just destroy vehicles. This thing has, like, I think the 3rd or 4th best DPM in the game, and it's a relatively mobile platform, and I really have been enjoying playing this. The only reason I'm playing it is because recently in the super test it's been released that this tank, as well as the Tier 10, is getting a buff, a substantial buff, and it really makes me want to get the 4005 now, because I really love the 183, the Death Star, but because they nerfed the speed so much of it, I just haven't played it in probably about a year now. And the Stage 2, the FV4005, looks more up my alley, and I'm going to give it a go. So anyway, I've been playing this line. You probably saw my Achilles gameplay previously, and I have one for the Charioteer as well coming up. The Conway is an interesting vehicle, and it took me a little bit of time to get used to it, but as you can see, I 3-marked it relatively easily. I think it only took about maybe 115 games, just because it did, again, take about 10 games to kind of get used to it. It has paper armor and just pretty bad gun depression and not super mobile, but I do like the fact that the turret is fully traversable. Anyway, enough about this vehicle. The map today is Ensk, and as you can see, there are only 13 vehicles per side. And from my experience, when there's only 13 vehicles, or under 15 vehicles per side, especially in a small map like this, the game ends pretty fast. It's usually more dynamic because there's just a lot less vehicles to kill, and people tend to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, their top tiers include 2 Jagdpanther 100s and an AMX 13 105. The 105 is a very good player, and he's blue, and I'm not really sure exactly what his play is going to be, but generally, when I see good light tank or medium tank players, especially that are blue, generally they like to push up the middle, just because they have good map control. Sometimes they'll push along the 9-0 line, but depending on how much support they have, they won't. And if you look up the lineup, they have a lot of tank destroyers and a lot of heavy tanks, meaning the city is going to be pretty much overrun, and the 9-0 is probably going to be relatively open, and the AMX will most likely push down the middle. Now, our team, on the other hand, we have a Foch 155, very competent player. Same with 105 AMX of our own. A Foch. Our team just looks very solid. Because of that, I'm not really too concerned about this game. I feel like we're going to win it. And when you realize that you're going to win a game, it's important to play more aggressively, I guess. Keep the gun singing, because you want to get as much damage as possible to get the most experience and credits out of that game. So again, looking at the enemy lineup, they have a lot of heavy tanks. That kind of lets me know that most of these vehicles at the very beginning of the game are going to push across here, and some might even wander up this 3-4 line. And because of that, I'm going to try to get some sneaky shots in the very beginning and utilize this beast's DPM. With that being said, we will get this game started. So you'll notice immediately that the Conway is pretty peppy. It takes a lot of experience to unlock the top gun. It actually has 3 of them, but once you get the top engine, this thing is quite peppy. And according to whatever the super test stats that have been released, if they are accurate, this thing is going to get top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, and that will be quite beautiful. So I load some APCR rounds here, some gold rounds, because I have no idea what else is going to be here, and I really don't want to risk missing any of these shots. This gun is not super accurate. It's okay, but I want to try to utilize the DPM the best I can, especially right here against all of these heavy tanks. The Panther 100 decides to side scrape, but because I have APCR loaded, I'm able to easily pen his cheek. And I'm not going to get greedy, because now if he chooses to shoot me and sit there, it's just not worth trading over half my life for one shot. So I peek around this corner here, the Foch gets lit. I don't have the opportunity to take a shot, but I load back over to my standard rounds, and I'm just looking for some opportunities here. The Panther gets lit, and this is what I mean. The gun is not super accurate, especially at snapshots. If you aim all the way, I think it has like 0.32 accuracy, which is great, but if you don't aim fully, the accuracy is atrocious. Now I'm able to put a nice shot into the Panther, and I put a second shot in, and check out how fast this reload is. Literally, it's like, I think it's like 6.38 seconds or something like this. So I don't zoom in because of the wall right there that's in the way, and this 105, as predicted, pushes up the middle now. But he is a good player according to XVM, but he just lets me completely farm him. I don't think he expected me to be there, and he lost pretty much all of his life doing so. Now I peek up, I want to get a shot into this AMX again. I put a bead on him, but he gets finished off before he can do anything. Now, oops, wrong button there. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm already up to 3,000 damage within the first 2 minutes of the game. That's pretty incredible, and that just means that I've been able to shoot a lot during those 2 minutes. This tank has upwards of, I think, 3,300 DPM, and that means for a whole minute of this game so far, half of it I've been shooting continuously. Now, if you look at the map, they have the majority of their vehicles clustered in the city. They have 1 or 2 tanks that have fallen back to defend the base, but our team has absolute map control. We own about 75% of the map, and we are holding the city very strongly. We got some guys on the base that were contesting the Foch and the AMX that were coming up, and we already have 2 tank destroyers pushing their base. Odds are we're going to win this just no problem, and I'm trying to think, okay, how can I get the most damage out of this game? Because these tanks are very busy fighting, my best chances are swooping forward and getting side shots on these vehicles. So this M103 gives me a nice shot into his lower plate. He's just completely busy facing off. I'm going to put another shot into him and finish him off. And just, again, that reload is incredible. Imagine if you run food on this thing and you have a crew with brother-in-arms. It's just wrong. So I go for the AMX because I don't have a clean shot of the lower plate, and I don't want to risk bouncing. Again, in these situations, you really want to get the most out of your DPM. And see what I mean there about that accuracy? It just, you'd think that would have gone, and if it was a Soviet medium tank, it would have easily connected, but unfortunately, you really need to fully aim this vehicle to get that kind of damage. So our city has almost completely fallen. We're still going to win, I'm fairly certain, but again, I want to try to utilize the DPM of this vehicle, and the T95 is coming right at me. I use this statue right here to defend myself because I really don't want to take a 750 damage shot. I see that he fires, and I realize that it's safe to poke. Now I'm trying to get a shot on this VK. Something's blocking my field of view, but I'm able to get a nice shot into his cupola, and again, this gun is beautiful. Now I have APCR loaded because I really want to get a shot into this lower plate of this T95, and I don't really trust the standard rounds of this gun. Now he puts a nice shot into me for 755, almost exactly average, and I predicted it, but that's okay. We only have 2 vehicles to kill at this point. A Panther 100 gives me the back of his tank, and I'm easily able to connect one, and my good DPM allows me to put a second shot in before he can get away around the corner. I try to get another sneaky shot into the Panther, but just not enough time. On the reload, Centurion kind of blocked me there a little bit as well, and we are easily able to clean up this game in under 4 minutes. 4-minute game, 6,137 damage. If you ask me, that's pretty incredible, and there's not a lot of vehicles that could pull this off. Again, the the Tortoise, which has the highest DPM in the game, is this guy's brother. They're both tier 9s on the British line, and the Tortoise, unfortunately, has extremely low speed. Very easy to pen because the weak spots on it are very prominent, and because of that, the Tortoise just cannot utilize its DPM unless you're sniping at a horde of enemies coming. Whereas this vehicle, because of its turret, because of its mobility, you can really abuse it and just pump out those rounds. And again, if this was a 15 versus 15 and our team didn't carry as hard as they did, I could have easily got 8,000, 9,000 damage out of this game. And unfortunately, it wasn't the case, but I just wanted to show you guys that there is a lot of potential in this vehicle if you play it more like a medium tank than a tank destroyer. So anyway, guys, hopefully you found this replay useful and entertaining to watch. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a like down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel for more content like this in the future. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.